All praise, Lord, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High God, the patriarchs Abraham and Jacob. And peace to you in the name of Jesus. This is your brother Elisha Israel of the House of Faith. I count it to be a blessing each and every single time that I come before you to preach the word of God, and never do I count it as a light thing to do so. Just a little bit about the House of Faith. We meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, that's the House of Faith. We meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to get right into today's message, and I'm really just going to answer a couple questions. That's one of the questions is pertaining to peace to you, sister. It's from Sister Amanda. She said, so when the angels that went to Sodom and Gomorrah and those that met with Lot were their flesh and blood, I'm confused. Okay. And it can read like that. You could be reading it and thinking, well, what's going on? Are these angels or are these flesh and blood men? Well, let's go back to Genesis and read it. Okay. So this is Genesis 19 verse 1. Okay, so it says very clearly, there came two angels. Actually, I want to pick it up somewhere earlier than that. So Genesis 18 and verse 20. So listen to what the Lord said here. It says, the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, because their sin is very grievous. He says, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which has come unto me. And if not, I will know. Okay. Then it says, and the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before the Lord. Now, who are these men? These men, let's go earlier. Okay. Let's go to Genesis 18, still in Genesis 18 and verse 1. It says, well, actually, because these are the ones that met Abraham. Okay, these are the ones, but then let's go to Genesis the 19th chapter, because it tells you who these men was. It's calling them men, but they're not actual literal men. They were only appearing as men, because it tells you in verse 1, and there came two angels to Sodom at even. So you think one calling them men, one's calling them angels. That's confusion. What's wrong with the book? Not saying that she's saying that, but I can understand how somebody could say they're confused if you don't know that angels oftentimes appear as men, and that's all over the Bible. Okay, so it says again in Genesis, in one place it calls them men, and in verse 1 in chapter 19 it says, and there came two angels. Okay, there came two angels to Sodom and even. Okay, let's go to. Give me 1 second. Let's go to book of Hebrews, the 13th chapter, and see something about angels. Hebrews, the 13th chapter. See, angels can change their form, brothers and sisters. We're in Hebrews, the 13th. Hebrews, the 13th chapter, and it says in verse 2, it says, remember them that are in bound. Oh, wait, hold on, excuse me. Hold on. Give me a second. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 2. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 2. It says, be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unaware. Okay, so they didn't know. So like that's how angels can proceed. You can see an angel, and if it's Like I'll show you another place. Let's go to Daniel. We're in Daniel chapter 9, and I'm gonna pick it up. Now here Daniel sees this angel. He says in verse 5, then I lifted up, I'm gonna tell you where he was. He says in verse 4, and in the 24th day of the first month, I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel. Then I lifted up mine eyes. And looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, with whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. This was not a regular man, right? But he says he saw a man. Behold, a certain man clothed, because he had an appearance of a man, but this man is not a regular man. He looked like a man, but this is an angel, and that's how angels can appear. So that's why he says, and I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell on them, so that they fled to hide themselves. Therefore I was left alone and saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for my countenance was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. Yet heard I the voice of his words, and when I heard the voice of his words, and I was in a deep sleep on my face, and my face toward the ground. And behold, an hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved. Now he's called a man. Okay. Now Daniel's a regular man, though. This one he's talking to is not a regular man. So imagine if you see a man, but this man is like shining, and his eyes were like lamps of fire, and then he's speaking, and it's like it says the voice of the words like the voice of a multitude, like a whole bunch of people speaking, or something so loud. This is not a normal occurrence. Then he says, then said he said, stand upright. I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. See, because they are ministering spirits, so he comes with a message. Okay. He says, and when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, fear not. Don't be afraid. Why? He said him not to be afraid, because he had to calm him down. Now let's go back to Genesis the 19th chapter. So these are called angels. You call them men, but these are not regular men. Just like that one, the regular man that Daniel saw, that was an angel. So now these angels go into Lot's house, right? And then it says something. I'm gonna pick it up. It says in verse 3, because these angels, they go in and he's providing for them, if you will. Then he says in verse 3, he said they turned unto him and enter into his house, and he made them a feast and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. Someone said, well, the angels eating? Yeah, angels can eat, because the Lord, when he came, he said, you got any fish? He ate, and he was God. So he said, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round about. So now these men of the city surrounded the place. Then it says, both old and young, all the people from every corner. So now they all compassed this place to find out what they wanted from Lot. And they said, they called unto Lot and said unto them, where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. So that's where you get the term sodomite from. Okay. So they wanted to know these men in a biblical sense. This is unrighteous. We know this from the book of Leviticus and other places. This is abomination. And that's what was going on. And that's why he said in 18, and the Lord, in verse 20, and the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. Then he said, I will go down now and see. Well, how was he seeing? And he knows. But he uses his angels to report. So now, and it calls them men. See, these men of these sodomites here, they saw what appeared to be men and wanted to know them, but these are angels. And you know, that's why he it did this. He did the angel did this. He said, but the men put forth their hand and poured out into the house to them and to shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great. So they weary themselves to find the door. So the angel just blinded the men. Okay. So now, this is an angel. So when you say it's a man or it's angels that appear as men. Now, when that's happening all over the Bible. Let's go to the book of Judges. I'm gonna pick it up in Judges. Judges chapter 13 and verse 1. It says, and the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. See, so he will bring judgment based on behavior. Just like he brought judgments to Sodom and Gomorrah, he brought judgment to Israel here. They were in subjection to the Philistines. They were being oppressed by them. It says, and there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and he and his wife was barren and bare not. So he didn't have any children at the time. Then it says, and the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said, behold, and said unto her, behold, now thou art barren and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. So now this son was going to be a Nazarite. Then listen to what she said, though, in verse 6. Just to get to the point, it said, then the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance, that's called him a man of God. But then it says of his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God. Very terrible. It means awesome, not like disgusting here. So it says, but I asked him not whence he was, neither told me his name. But he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine, no strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. Okay? So now, she said he was like an angel, but this man came, he was like an angel. It was something different about him. See, that's kind of like with Daniel. Okay? So all over, these angels are appearing like men would appear. Okay? But they're angels. They're not regular men. Okay? So yes, those are angels in Sodom and Gomorrah. Now the next question, you can go on and on. You read when the angels were there at the sepulcher. You can read. In fact, let's read one more. Acts the 1st chapter. It's all over the Bible though. Acts the 1st chapter. Matter of fact, let's go back to Judges. Then we'll read Acts. Back to Judges chapter 17. Let's read one other thing that was said since it's on my mind. Not 17, but 13. Okay, so it says, I'm going to pick it up in verse 15. I'm in Judges 13 and 15. It says, and Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. So just like they ate with the angel in Genesis, like Lot did, Abraham did, they trying to do this the same thing here. Peace to everybody that's listening. And it says here, And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread, and if thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. Right? Just like the angel told him, he said, man, stand up. You got instances with where the angel appeared. Hold your finger here. We can go to Acts, but not the other place I was going to. Let's go to Acts, the 10th chapter. Acts, the 10th chapter. Well, hold on 1 second. This is Acts, the 10th chapter. It says in verse 7, and when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called two of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. Okay, so the angel was telling him to go to this, he saw it in a vision though, but still he sees an angel, but this is not a regular man. Okay, so he's just talking to him. Go to back to Judges